Hello, everybody. Welcome to Straight Out of BS podcast. Thank you guys for your continued support. You guys are awesome. We've broken 100 episodes, so let's break 200 now. If you want to support the podcast, links are in the description. Thanks to all my Patreon members and listener support on Spotify. And for the YouTube member, or for people that join my YouTube channel, I really appreciate the support. It's never expected, so it's always appreciated. I want to do a moment of silence for the person who's still struggling with intrusive thoughts or anything like that. So on the count of three, I'm going to do a moment of silence. 1, 2, 3. Okay, thank you for that. And I just want to do a quick reminder. Liking the video, sharing the video, commenting, anything that interacting with the video helps the algorithm and it pushes the videos out there to more people. So if you could hit the like button, it really does help a lot. And subscribe if you're not already. I just really appreciate it. And so without further ado, I want to go ahead and introduce my guest for the day. Go ahead and introduce yourself and where you went and what year.
My name is Lily Palmer, and I was at Casa by the Sea from 2000. So I had actually a pretty decent childhood. I am adopted. I was adopted when I was 2 days old, and I was adopted into a good family. My parents ended up getting divorced when I was about 7 years old. And when that happened, that's kind of when everything started for me. Between the separation between my mom and my dad, I wanted to go with one parent rather than the other, and ended up, that's when I started acting out, basically. I wanted to be with my father, was forced to be with my mother for a lot of it, and my dad was my BFF. My mom wanted to give me the tough love, and so ultimately I ended up butting heads with my mother through a lot of it, and was sent to live with my dad, which, long story short, I took out a lot of my anger on him through everything, which he didn't deserve. And fast forward to junior high and high school. When she was, I want to say maybe 14 or so, but she went to Casa By The Sea, and she graduated. She visited me on her home pass, and her parents were very involved in the program. And my mother was basically a non-blood sister to her parents. And I remember the day that I was taken, well, I'm not going to say her name, but I had the two men come into my room, handcuff me, and I told them, I know exactly where I'm going. You don't need to explain anything at all. I knew. After her graduation, I'm positive that her and my mom spoke, and that's where I went, just basically due to, I live in Petaluma, California, and there's a big handful of people that ended up going to the program while I was there from Petaluma. And it seemed like it was almost like a little rewards program that was going on here. You get a referral. They handcuffed me, told me that I wasn't allowed to move. They escorted me out of the house. My parents weren't even in the house. time. They took me downstairs. My parents were out on the front balcony, and put me in the car, and there I went. Yeah.
Okay. And did you drive the whole way or did you fly?
We drove. We drove from yeah, we drove. It was about 12 hours. We drove we took multiple stops, and I can remember them being like, "Hey, this is your last chance. You want us to get you booze? You want us to get you drugs? Do you want anything? This is it for you. Like, you're going away for a long time." But we ended up driving down there, crossed the border, and that was it. Yeah, that was it.
They offered to get you drugs?
Yeah, drugs and alcohol on the way down.
What kind of drugs?
Anything I wanted. Anything that I wanted. They said, anything you want, we can give it to you because this is your last opportunity.
Interesting. Okay. What do you remember about when you first got there?
So I remember the 2 red gates that we went into. We went into a conference room, and then sat down for a few minutes, and then I went to an area to where they ended up basically strip searching you, cough, squat, all of that, and basically rid you of everything that you had. Hair up, sandals on, no looking around, don't turn around, don't talk to anybody, nothing of the sort. And I don't really remember, it's kind of a blur for me, but I do remember I was in a new family when I got there, and I had to sleep in a different area, kind of like an intake area where they have you sleep and then you go into your family. I just remember the mamas that came and met us, basically trying to figure out you couldn't talk, you couldn't conversate with anybody. You had no idea what was going on. And then you're just stuck in a hallway with 24 other girls in your family. And then you basically start learning your program. I remember knowing that my girlfriend that had been there before, I knew I was going to be there for a very long time. And it was very hard because when I walked through those gates, I knew for at least the next year, I had no opportunity of leaving that place. I already knew what was coming forward. I'd heard about the program. I just never thought I'd be in that position because I didn't feel like I was like a bad kid. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't feel like none of us deserved to be there, but yeah.
Okay. Did they give you any physical room manual? What did they do when you first got there?
I feel like I got a breakdown of the rules. I had a buddy. My buddy actually was very, very nice. They gave us 3 days to learn all of the rules. They gave us like the consequence manual, if you will. I guess that's what it's called, to figure out what you're going to be trying to do, who you can and can't talk to. Don't have your water bottle 2 inches away from your feet, just the silly stuff when, trying to figure out who you can and can't speak to, look at, where you can't look out of, can't turn your head, can't stand up, can't sit down, just the basic rules. When you walk into the program, you have no idea what's going on. But that's pretty much the first few months of my program are very suppressed. Very, very suppressed. And watching the documentary has actually brought up quite a bit of suppressed memories that I didn't even know I retained in my brain.
Okay. How long were you there for?
So I was there from January 31st of 2003 until Mother's Day, May 9th of 2004. 15.
Okay. And how was your program? Was it easy for you to get points? Did you try to get points but get consequenced a lot, or was it hard?
So for me, I actually had a fairly easy program, in the words of easy. I've never done well with disobeying authority. So I kind of put on my customer service voice, if you will, and started working the program, because I knew, having somebody that had already gone to the program, I knew what I needed to do to get out. So that in turn was very helpful for me. So I ended up working the program, and it ended up, I was only there for 15 months and I graduated. So it ended up being an easy program for me. I was open, I was honest. There was a lot of stuff that I had to make up that never really happened. You know, you have to kind of lie to get through it and put yourself out there to be like you're somebody that you're actually really not. You know, like I had to talk about doing drugs and a numerous amount of things that I never did. But before I went to the program, I was hard, but I didn't do any drugs. I drank alcohol. I snuck out at night. I wanted to be in the boy phase, but I did more harm after the program than I did before I went in, to myself, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. How long after you got there did they put you through your first seminar, and which seminar was it? Was it orientation or discovery?
So I went to orientation pretty quick. I want to say I was in orientation within a couple months, but then my discovery was only about 3 months in for me. And then I think I was even in focus within five, maybe 6 months.
Okay. What was your experience of the seminars?
Those were really shitty. The seminars sucked. I think for me, that was probably the weirdest experience I've ever been through in my life. I mean, we're talking about finding your inner child and doing these extremely strange exercises that, I mean, it doesn't make sense, but you do them, right? It's the only way you're going to graduate your program. You have to get through these in order to do it. But the seminars were just weird. I mean, I remember walking into Discovery and I was like, what the hell is going on? And like, what kind of cult am I being introduced to? Because it was just brainwashing to the absolute extreme, 100% extreme, you know?
Yeah. Do you remember your I am statement or your purpose statement?
Oh, I know like one word out of my I am statement. It was like, I am a strong, beautiful, benevolent young woman, but I don't remember my purpose statement. But okay. I probably have it around here somewhere.
Okay. And how long did it take you to get to level 4?
I was on level 4 within about 5 months.
Okay, so did you become junior staff? Or did you have to consequence the lower levels?
I was student council, yeah. Mm-hmm. I got voted up on student council probably, I think I had just gotten up on level 5, if I remember correctly. Maybe midway through level 5, yeah, unfortunately. It was a blessing, but an absolute freaking curse at the same time.
Okay, do you have any guilt about that?
Oh, I was just mentioning this the other day. I think student council was probably one of the harder parts of my program, because I am a very, I guess acceptance has always been one of my things. Like I hate conflict. I want to be everybody's friend. So when it came down to having to decide people's levels, knowing that we're all in this same boat, having to approve or deny, that was hard for me, because you'd have everybody else's approval, and then student council's the one to deny you. And then I knew that you were going to be held back at least a month from that one denial. So that was very hard for me. It was a blessing, because there were things that you were able to do that nobody else was able to do. I know that we had to go and staff a parent seminar in Arizona. So we went to a Diamondbacks game. So there were little perks in that sense, but one of the worst parts of CASA for me mentally was being on student council, because it sucked having to make people stay there longer when we all deserve to get the hell out of that place, you know?
Yeah. Were you on any prescription medications before you went there? And did they load you up with prescription medications when you got there or take you off cold turkey?
I was not on any prescription medications. I had never tried any prescription medications. There was a point in time where they were giving us medication, but that stopped. And that was very quickly into my program.
How long were they doing it for?
When I was there, probably only about a month. I mean, it stopped pretty quickly after I was there.
Okay. How was the food there? Was it horrible? Was it bearable? Was it good?
Depends. I remember when I first got there, I tried to claim I was a vegetarian because I think I had the fish once, and I was like, not doing this. But they had good food. They had bad food. They had hot dog nights, white spaghetti night. The fish was terrible. The beef stew I didn't personally care for. I ended up eating flan in my Raisin Bran. You come up with these crazy concoctions just to make things taste better. When I was there, when I first came in, they had the Commodore. It was the old Commodore. And they used to play these, I remember these tapes that you would just have to sit there and listen to the whole time that you're in the Commodore. And I don't quite remember that happening after they rebuilt the new one, but I could be wrong. But I specifically remember it in the old Commodore. I remember the whole Cien Cinquenta thing, where you could choose half a plate or a whole plate, but if you choose half a plate, you had to eat everything on your plate. I remember not being able to have condiments till I was second level, I think it was. But let me tell you, when we got those hot dogs, that ketchup came in handy. But the food, there was okay food and there was really, really bad food at the same time.
Okay. And did you have to speak Spanish there?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Was it hard for you to learn that?
I was able to get by. I took a lot of Spanish classes growing up, so I was able to communicate to what I needed. But anything past that, no, I was not able to communicate in Spanish past that. So it was nice when, you get to have your third person listening, which was also awkward because you weren't able to speak without a third person in the room, or in a conversation. But it was nice when you were able to speak with a third and you were able to speak English, especially in school when you were in your classes and whatnot. But yeah, I was able to get by.
Okay. And how was schooling there for you? Did your credits transfer?
Schooling was an absolute joke. I'm sorry to laugh, but I've actually been through a lot since I went through Casa, as far as where I ended up with my career. I had always wanted to be in a nursing type of atmosphere, medical assisting atmosphere. So our schooling basically came down to picture books. They would let you would have your book, you take these tests, you needed like a C or higher, and then you pass, right? Well, for me, you get through school and hey, you get through school early. That's so great. Yeah, yada, yada. Well, I graduated with a diploma, went home. So I graduated May 9th, 2004. Went home. I ended up going into college. I wanted to start medical assisting. So I went to a junior college, started my medical assisting class. I was there for 2 weeks, already taking blood of girls that were in my same class. And I had my counselor come in from the college and yank me out and said, hey, unfortunately, we can't let you back in the classroom because your transcripts are null and void. They don't exist. So it sounds like a few months before I graduated academically, they had lost their accreditation. So,
or they never had it.
I know some people that I've spoken with are able to get through. They were able to go to college and whatnot. They might have never had it at Casa. I'm not sure. But mine personally were,
okay.
Yeah.
And let's see, how long were you there before you went through PC1?
I was there, so I got on upper levels pretty quick. So I think PC1 was like my 6-month mark when I was there. I think I was about 6 months when I went through PC1.
Okay. And what was the hardest part about being there for you, and how did you deal with it?
The hardest part for me about PC1 was...
No, I mean like the hardest part about... Oh, we can go there. Let's do that first.
Oh, go to PC1? The hardest part for me about PC1 was when I walked into the seminar room, and I remember seeing my dad and my mom lined up against the back wall, like holding hands. And mind you, they've been divorced since I was 7 years old. So that was weird for me, first off. But then knowing that I wasn't allowed to touch them or talk to them or anything. And then you get all these feelings just rushing back to you, you know, it just, everything comes. And then I got like the resentment, the anger. But then I looked at my dad and I was like, I miss you and I love you. Like, take me the fuck out of here. Excuse my language. Take me the fuck out of here, because like you're my BFF. So PC1 was very, very triggering. And I don't really remember much of it, to be honest. I remember, I think maybe the last day when we went out and had lunch in the sun. Everything around us was beautiful, sunshine. You were with your parents, you know, all of that. But yeah, that's really, I don't really remember much of PC1.
Okay. What was the hardest part about being in the program for you, and how did you deal with it?
Being away from my dad, for sure, was the hardest part. Not being able to tell him how I really felt, wanting to come home, obviously. There were conversations post-program of how my dad wanted to get me out of there, but unfortunately, there were other people around me that were super pro-program. My dad just saw through the bullshit, you know, and yeah, he wanted to rescue me. I think that was the hardest part, was being away from my father. You know, he's a godsend. And at that point in time, it's all I wanted to do was be with my dad, you know.
Okay. And how did you deal with it in the program?
I tried to work it. I faked it till I made it, you know. I faked it till I made it. I had to do what I had to do, get the hell out of there. And like I said, I had a pretty short program compared to most, and I worked the system, and I got home, and that, you know, that was it. I had a home contract for till my birthday, which was in July, and my dad said, hell no. Go live your life.
Okay. Let's see. Did you read any good books when you were there? Did you get to go to the library at all?
Honestly, no. I just kind of journaled most of the time. That's where I spent most of my alone time, and writing letters to those who I wanted to speak with, and mainly to my dad. Send them out every time I could get. But no, I didn't do a lot of reading at all. Listened to a lot of girls sing, which was really heavenly. But yeah, no, I didn't read much.
Okay. What was the worst thing you saw or heard about that happened there? And was there anything good about your experience?
So, the worst thing that I saw, so when I got on student council, like I said, blessing but a curse, because you were given duties that you didn't ask for. And I remember my very first experience was the worst thing I saw. Was there were two mamas, and we had, I don't know where everyone was located at, but either it was like intervention or R&R. Ours was R&R. And two mamas in particular. There was a girl that had gotten in trouble, and I had to go be staff in R&R. And the two mamas that were in there beat the absolute bonkers out of this poor girl for about, I'd say, 20 to 30 minutes. And that was the first instance that I was like, okay, so now it's violent. Now it's violent. I personally was never physically abused. But I witnessed that when I got on upper levels, which was really hard to take in, especially when you talk about this stuff over phone or in letters. You can't. It's all manipulation. It's all, you're lying. It's all monitored, So, yeah.
Okay. Did you spend any time in intervention or study hall?
Not myself, no. Mm-mm.
Okay. Let's talk about reintegration into society afterwards. How has it been reintegrating into society, or the lack thereof, and what have you struggled with the most?
It was bizarre. You come home, you have your if you graduate, you have your home contract, you have your A, B, C, D, and F friends. It was lonely as all hell. I had a few friends that stuck by me, checked in with my parents, that they allowed me to see them. But it was very weird because I felt different. I didn't feel normal. I didn't feel like I was a natural part of society anymore. I felt like everything that I did was robotic. Especially when you're on a demerits program, when you get home, is very, very strange to the outside world. You're trying to communicate with people that are in your circle, and you're like, oh, I can't do this, otherwise I'm going to lose points for my day from my parents. Like, what does that even mean? So you going into the outside world from being incarcerated, I guess I'll call it, for an X amount of time, it's just you're a little institutionalized, if you will. You're still stuck in that mindset that everything you do and everything you say is monitored, is you're gonna get in trouble for it, when all you really want to do is tell the truth about what really happened. And yeah, that was hard. It has had its toll on relationships for me, for sure. Yeah, big time. I don't really speak with my mom very much. I did a lot of stuff post program that a lot of girls that were pre-programmed did, if that makes sense. I did a lot more drugs when I got out of the program. I was more rebellious coming out of the program. After my home contract was up, I just went on my own. I didn't care. So.
How's your relationship with your parents? Have they watched the program? Do you want them to? Have you told them how this place affected you? And I've forgiven my parents, but I'll never forget what they did to me. So where are you with your parents?
So me and my mom have always had a tough relationship. My mom is still pro-program, which is very hard for me to accept. I've tried to reach out to her since watching the documentary. I've asked her to watch it. It's been since September since I've heard from her regarding anything along those lines. My dad has always understood how difficult it was, and he is still to this day my biggest provider, just emotionally and mentally. He's watched the first episode of the program. He watched about 20 minutes of the first, and he just had to turn it off. He's devastated. He beats himself up, which I tell him not to. He got duped too. But our parents got duped as well. But me and my mom, we don't have much of a relationship right now. I've had to put a lot of thought into how I want to proceed with that relationship. However, for my father, he's my number one fan. Like he gets everything. So.
Okay. If you could go back in a time machine and not go through this place, knowing what you know now, would you do it, and why?
Not going through the program?
Yeah.
If I knew I was going to go for what I was doing, I probably would have done things differently. But then again, like I said, I don't feel like I was a terrible kid. I always ask my dad, like, what do you think would have happened if I never went? People shape up. We were all so young to where we weren't even fully developed. People struggle, people grow up, they get out of their funk. Who knows? Maybe I would have been dead. Maybe I would have succeeded. It's just one of those what ifs, Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. Grooming of, like, did you witness any grooming of students by staff, or like staff on staff or student on student, anything sexual, like any abuse, any grooming, anything like that you witnessed or heard about?
Not sexual, just physical. Just not, I didn't experience anything sexual, never saw anything sexual.
Okay. But just the grooming, you said?
Mm-hmm.
Grooming happened a lot?
Yeah, I noticed it more when I was on upper levels, because I was more freely seeing everything. When I was on lower levels, it wasn't so much in your face. It's almost like, of course they're trying to protect themselves, but it was more so when I got on upper levels to where you start really seeing the behind the scenes. And maybe it was student council too, because there was a lot of stuff that student council kind of brought to the table, rather than, it was like more behind the scenes. It was just, it was, especially when you talk about the, administrative portion of it, not just the mamas, but you're talking about like administrative people. You could kind of see where even just favoritism came in. Administrative did a lot of wonky shit behind the scenes.
Okay. What do you think would have helped you instead of being sent away?
I don't know. I don't know. Maybe some therapy, or maybe just let me learn on my own, make my own mistakes, my own choices. And if I ended up not doing well, it's on me. If the program saved my life, I'm happy for it. Not going to deny that at all. If I'm alive today because of it, I'm happy. But I would have liked to see where I would have ended up, for sure. Because I feel like I have a pretty good head on my shoulders now. But I did when I was younger as well. I just didn't feel like I was that far gone.
Okay. Knowing what you know now, is it your belief that the remaining schools should or even could be fully regulated, or is it your belief that they should all be shut down?
They need to all be shut down. 100%. 100%.
And is there anything else you want people to know about your experience, or anything that you might tell a parent thinking about sending their kid to a place like this?
Think twice. Just think twice. Educate yourself. Watch and research everything you possibly can, because a lot of the people that were sent in the first place was on a referral basis. Just don't fall for the system. Don't, make sure you research everything, because it's not a fun place for a child to be at all.
Okay.
Well, it's going to ruin your family dynamic.
Yeah, for sure. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. If you ever want to do a part 2, if things come up, then just let me know and we'll coordinate to do that. And thank you for watching this far in the video. And if you have, then please make sure you like the video, subscribe, and share, so we can get the word out there more about these places. And we will catch you in the next one. Bye.
Thanks so much.